Tapion would enjoy sitting on the street outside his house and just watching people passing by, observing them. Travelers from all over the world would come here to Carnival Corner just to experience the wonder of it, witness the unique craftsmanship, and to acquire rare knowledge and skills that existed here in this cultural melting pot. Carnival Corner could be a dangerous place, but it was also a renaissance, a coming together of many different races and cultures. There was an order of wizards that helped to maintain peace here in Carnival Corner, but they were a far cry from any conventional sort of government. Tapion wondered that perhaps it was better this way. Here people were allowed to make their own choices. It could be dangerous at times, but when you saw the wonder of what Carnival Corner is, it was something you had to feel, something you had to experience. You could see that here people could express a hidden part of themselves. Tapion had learned much about the world from the books in the library. He had read about the rise and fall of civilizations. He learned a great many skills and crafts simply by reading about them. Some people required years of education to learn these skills and years of experience, but Tapion didn't believe in the conventional way. He had observed the adults of the world around him and learned from his own mom that the conventional way could sometimes be very wrong and misguided. It felt important not to become ensnared in their way of thinking. As a kid, he was a blank slate, and he could create his own path. He didn't require years of schooling or for some other person to be the arbiter and the gatekeeper of knowledge. He could go directly for what he wanted. Carnival Corner itself was created on the site of a former battleground. It was war and division itself that led to the existence of Carnival Corner. Tapion had learned much about war, and it would seem that there was something very wrong in the world of the adults and the choices they were making. War for profit, entire races enslaved by other races. Carnival Corner was a unique and likable place, but it had arisen purely by accident. In the aftermath of a war between several nations, stragglers came to this barren wasteland and began constructing with anything they could find. It became a project, and soon more and more people came to this place. There was a passion for it. A place without laws, a place without rules. Tapion enjoyed hanging out in the courtyard. That was where he noticed a group of other children playing every day. He began to spend time around them, saying very little at first. They included him in their games. There were many who teased Tapion for his strange appearance, his insistence on hiding his face behind a mask, his hunched posture. Tapion's mother, Wendella, had cast so many protection spells on him that it left him feeling stuck in a state of permanent confusion. He could feel the magical energy of all these spells weighing down upon him. It was holding him back. He just wanted to be free. He began to learn that although there were some who teased him, he could stand up to these bullies. His confidence began to increase, and that one simple act of defiance could change the way the whole group viewed him. They began to fear him. They began to see that he wasn't backing down, and that these bullies and their threats were largely nothing more than emotional mind games. When they saw that he wasn't playing along and he wasn't playing into it, the bullies backed down, and all the children began to like him and respect him. Still, he worried about the scars on his face and the weakness in his body that was left from the magical attack. It was preventing him from growing to his full height. He enjoyed spending time with the other children. They would talk about the adventures they wanted to have, to explore the other parts of the world. It was said that there were great hills and mountains, endless fields of green, that there were castles and cities bigger than Carnival Corner, so big they were hard to comprehend. Being with the other children was something he was doing purely for the enjoyment. He felt it calling to him that this was what he really wanted. One day he came home and his mother found out he had been playing with the other children, and she insisted that it was not safe and he must stay at home. He did his best to negotiate with her, but he found it was in vain. Still, with the coming days and weeks, he would continue to sneak out and play with the other children, but there was always that conflict, her protectiveness, her control. Now the years were passing by, and the children he had played with were growing up, but the magical damage from his accident had caused his body to become stuck. His body was stuck in a stunted state. He was not growing. This was the first time in his life Tapion felt real distress. He could see that the friends he had come to love, they were moving on with their lives. They were branching out and going to other districts of the city, getting to know the adults, making plans to one day leave Carnival Corner. Because Tapion looked like a kid, this affected his confidence. Even though he was 17, he looked like a child, and his mask made him even harder to recognize as being a person. People would mock him and treat him as though he were some sort of clown or stage performer. "Dance for us, boy." And for the first time in a long time, the insults hurt him because he knew they were real, and he knew that his appearance was separating him from his friends. He would try to tag along with them, but it felt like he was holding them back, having to include this person who appeared to be a child in their adventures. He tried to explain this to Wendella. She only assured him that the world was dangerous and that she was the only person who could really love him. He began to wonder that maybe she was right. He began to really fear now that his body would always hold him back. So he returned to his original place of refuge, the library, spending even more time there than ever before, poring over the books. There was so much magical knowledge here that there just had to be something that could help him, that could help his body to grow, that could help him to make a true recovery. But it required a more dangerous and complicated type of magic. He was venturing into unknown territory, unknown even to most of the adults. But he had so much confidence in himself. The ways of the adult world was so rigid and dogmatic. He believed in his creative mind that he could find an answer.